next, we're going to have a public discussion on an important issue. The town board recently decided to invite the community to discuss whether or not we should participate in a program that Sustainable Westchester has offered communities. There's so far, not counting Greenberg, 26 other communities, and they want to make a difference in terms of making the world more sustainable. So we're going to be taking comments from residents whether or not the town should participate in a program that would it's an opt-out program that would enable that Greenberg to participate in the program, and we would be getting 100% renewable energy. During the past number of years, some residents have been upset because we had participated in a program where we were working with Westchester Power. The rates that our residents got were fixed. They couldn't go up and they couldn't go down. When we originally signed up, Con Ed's rates were always going up. So having a fixed rate contract, made sense. Initially, residents saved money, but during the past 18 months, Con Ed rates surprisingly went down. So we decided we're not renewing that agreement. The Council of Civic Associations and some community leaders had been highly critical of that, but we are open to participating in the Sustainable Westchester option. At yesterday's town board meeting, I indicated that I would support the Sustainable Westchester option provided that the following conditions were met. I feel that since this is an opt-out program, everybody's enrolled unless they decide to opt out. We have an obligation as a town to let people know that they have the right to opt out. So I had requested that a postcard would be sent out at the beginning of the contract paid for by Sustainable Westchester to every resident annually, advising them of the agreement and advising them that they could opt out if they want. The postcard should be written and approved by the town board. So we want to be very, very clear with the message. We want to advise residents that the rates could be higher than Con Ed's, but they can easily opt out if they wish. I also feel, in the interest of disclosure and transparency, that we want to post comparisons of the Con Ed rates and the Sustainable Westchester rates on the town website monthly, with a link to how people can opt out if they choose. And then I thought, once or twice a year, we could do a robocall to residents so nobody could say they didn't get the postcard, they didn't see the postcard, they were misled, or they're not aware that everyone is automatically enrolled in the program. And this is something that the town would assume the responsibility for. I think that, this program is, in my opinion, important. We know what's happening in California with global warming. We know that global warming is impacting everybody in every community, and Sustainable Westchester is our best option at this point of taking some initiatives and setting an example for others that we just can't sit back and do nothing, because otherwise the future generations, our children and grandchildren, are going to be living in a world that has many more problems than we have here. So I would now like to ask Garrett, actually ask Nina Orville, who represents Sustainable Westchester, to make a presentation, and then we could hear from the community. Nina?
Great. Thank you so much, Supervisor Feiner. and the town board for including me, and my colleague Dan Welsh is here as well. So as you know, municipalities came together to form Sustainable Westchester to promote the transition to clean energy and a sustainable economy here in Westchester. What you might not know is that the organization was actually born in Greenberg's town hall. We had a dedicated committee, including Thomas Madden at the time, that met for over a year in meetings in your town hall. And out of all of that work, Sustainable Westchester was launched. And part of that work included the design of the Westchester Power Program itself. So in a sense, that program was also born in your town hall. Greenberg has such a long and proud history of environmental action. You're one of the first communities with an energy conservation coordinator. And I believe Nikki Coddington, who held that role beautifully for a number of years, is going to be speaking tonight. And that work continued through really extensive energy efficiency outreach events, through the Solarize campaign, and a lot more. And meanwhile, the Westchester Power Program is the program that's had the biggest impact on reducing greenhouse gas emissions in Westchester County. Of the 27 participating municipalities, 24 of them chose renewable energy as the default for their residents, which means that the vast majority of the program's 110,000 households and small businesses are purchasing 100% renewable electricity. And the result of that is that this program has mitigated over 660,000 tons of greenhouse gases. And not only that, but it's also served as a launching pad for a number of additional programs that are providing additional environmental benefits and sometimes savings. And one example of that is community solar. So based on Greenberg's history and tradition of environmental leadership, and based on the really unparalleled positive environmental impact of the Westchester Power Program, it really seems important and fitting that the town be an active part of the program. And as Supervisor Feiner indicated, initially the town was in the basic or the non-renewable supply. And I think in the end that wasn't optimal in terms of impact and in terms of reflecting the environmental values of the town. All the municipalities so far that have voted on renewing their participation in the program, that's 25 of them, have voted yes. So we're really happy to have everybody re-upping. And tonight there's a really important opportunity to reset and relaunch Greenberg's participation in the program by voting to participate in the renewable supply option. I've communicated, and my colleagues have communicated to Supervisor Feiner that we stand ready to help the town with this relaunch. We're very happy with the communication plan that the supervisor has requested, and happy to add on to that with additional outreach events, virtual events to start with. And of course, happy to help any residents who choose to opt out to do that easily. And in addition to that, we're also really eager to bring the benefits of the other environmental programs to the town. And that includes community solar savings for low-income residents. And it also includes helping to connect the town with grant opportunities that are coming. where participating in the programs and specifically in the renewable supply is going to position the town very well for grant funding. So I'm really happy to be here this evening. I know my colleague Dan Welsh is also, and to respond to any questions, and of course to hear from the public in the public comment period. So thank you so much.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
a number of speakers, right, Garrett? And we're going to ask the speakers to limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes. And, you know, we're timing that, so we don't want to interrupt you, but we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak. So,
Also, Garrett, were you able to, I don't want you to read all the emails. We got a whole bunch of them. Would you be able to give us a summary of how many people responded to the emails and basically very short summaries?
Yeah, sure. If we do that at the conclusion, after people speak, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
All right. Is Fred Mouse available and ready to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
yes.
Oh, great, thank you. So hello, my name's Fred Moss. I live in Greenberg and I'm speaking on behalf of Mothers Out Front in support of Greenberg's continued participation in community choice aggregation and switching to the 100% green energy option. In this morning's New York Times, underneath a picture of yet another horrific forest fire in California, a headline reads, and I quote, "A climate crossroads with two paths, merely bad or truly horrific." The article says, quote, "Decades of growing crisis are already locked into the global ecosystem and cannot be reversed." Now that fact, which is something that everyone participating on this Zoom call knows or should know, casts a positively surreal light on our discussion of basically a 3% or less difference in the fuel portion of our electric bills. These debates make sense only because of our continued short-sighted refusal to consider the enormous costs which we're already paying for our continued use of fossil fuels in terms of human suffering, property loss, ecosystem loss here in the US, in terms of climate refugees in Africa and Asia, in terms of mass species extinction everywhere. It's our local municipal decisions, such as the one before us here, that steer our global future towards one that is, as the New York Times says, merely bad or truly horrific. And so I urge the town board to do the right thing by our children's future and consider the real implications of the decision here. And one final word in support of community solar, if I may. 6 years ago, I purchased solar panels for the roof of my house. The investment is about to pay off for itself, and I now look forward to decades of completely free electricity. But not everyone in Greenberg is as fortunate as I was to be able to afford solar panels or even a house to put them on. And so as a matter of social justice, we need to make cheap, clean energy available to all Greenberg residents by expanding community solar projects. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Mars. And thanks for staying within the 3-minute time period.
Okay, Amy Hill.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy. I'm also with Mothers Out Front, just like Fred. I'm a proud resident of Tarrytown with my husband and 2 young boys, and we're working to ensure a livable climate for all children. And we want to encourage Greenberg to continue to move forward, the needle forward by renewing its CCA program along with its 26 neighboring municipalities, particularly given that Greenberg can go green at a price that's lower than the current standard rate. With the impacts of climate change no longer theoretical, but stark and present, we would like to remind the town that participating in this renewable energy supply program would significantly reduce the town's carbon emissions. To meet the New York State climate goals and ensure a livable and sustainable future, we must continue to take aggressive action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to protect our residents and our children's future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Charles McNally, would you like to speak, sir? You're on mute.
Thank you. Just unmuted. Appreciate the heads up on that. I appreciate that people have some fairly involved analyses for tonight. I'm going to skip that and just talk about a few common sense ideas. First, we all know we need better air to breathe. Even though it seems like it's clear air around Greenberg, it's actually rated an F by the American Heart Association. And ironically, it's during a pandemic when people who suffer the most from the virus's effect are the people who breathe the most polluted air. This is when we most need to make sure we're getting the best clean air we can possibly get. The second thing I'd mention is that good communications is vitally important for any government decision that affects the utility bills that people have to pay. I'm glad to hear that better communication will be a required part of continuing in the program. I think has been the source of a lot of the unhappiness that has been expressed to date. And third, let us recognize that the pandemic has caused an unforeseeable and unprecedented decline in wholesale energy prices. This resulted from the collapse in all energy prices on the free market that came with the economic dislocation from the pandemic. But switching to monthly fluctuating electric rate doesn't get back the money that people have already paid. All it does is expose them to future fluctuations. And as we know from history, energy prices tend to go up in a much bigger way than they go down. We have a lot of potential geopolitical situations that could lead to instability in the world. The risk is always there. For most consumers, the better solution is to have fixed rate contracts that give some stability to the bills that they pay rather than being exposed to monthly fluctuation electric rates. But having said that, some consumers who have the wherewithal and desire to select monthly varying electric rates can do the switch. But let's keep the option for most consumers to stay with the fixed rate plan, which has the benefit of giving us the cleanest air that we can possibly get, at least within our control. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Colin McCarthy.
Hi, I'm Colin McCarthy, president of the Edgemont Community Council. And while our organization doesn't have a position on this, we do have some concerns on the proposed ESCO here. First of all, the auto enrollment option is very confusing. Out of the majority of people we talk to, very few of them even know there's an option or that they've been enrolled. And for those that do know, getting out of it is not trivial. It requires several phone calls. I've done it myself. It took about 35, 40 minutes of haggling with Con Ed to finally get out of it. And then once you're out, there's no transparency on where you're getting your power from on your power bill. There's no comparison of rates on the power bill. And I commend your efforts to try to improve that with a postcard and with a town website. But again, I don't know how practical those measures are for informing the public. Second, I don't know if we should be speculating on energy prices. So by going fixed rate versus just floating with Con Ed, we're in essence taking a position on the price of energy. And I don't think that's in the town's best interest. Third, we have economies of scale here. So if we're bringing all of these residents to board, then why don't we try to negotiate a deal where we get Con Ed minus 2 cents or some other type of rate? We're guaranteeing a ton of business through whomever we choose to go with. So why don't, instead of taking this risk on energy prices, why don't we negotiate something that's in everyone's benefit? Last, we're in support of green initiatives for sure, where the environment is a huge concern of everyone's. But I don't know if we need to have folks subsidizing this through their energy bill, especially if they're not even aware that they're doing it. I think there's plenty of ways Greenberg can be a leader in green initiatives, and Edgemont would love to get involved and help, but let's be a little bit more explicit and instead of being so indirect about it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Leslie Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I work in sustainability and energy efficiency every day with the Archdiocese, so I am very much pro sustainability and renewable energy. That being said, I am concerned with the opt-out as opposed to opt-in feature of this. It does seem like you are leaving it up to the consumer to drop out of it. And I think that that might be a little bit unfair, especially considering that the last contract ended up costing people more. I do understand that it is our responsibility to look after our bills and to, be able to change, but I'm not sure that many people are doing it. And in this climate where you might find a lot of residents a little bit short on cash just because of the pause that we came out of, I think that an opt-in would be better for the contract and it better for the reputation of going to ESCOs because they still sort of have a bad name. So I'm just thinking, is that possible to have an opt-in feature as opposed to opt-out?
That's a common question that we get. So why don't we have, Sustainable Westchester answer that one? Because we're going to keep hearing that over and over again. Would you address that, please?
Nina?
Sure, I can start and Dan Welsh can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the way these community choice aggregation programs are structured relies on the opt-out component. That is the central feature of these programs. And New York State has identified community choice aggregation programs as the most important action that local governments can take to mitigate climate impacts or greenhouse gas impacts community-wide. So the program is not available on an opt-in basis. It's available only in this form because it's this form that makes the program work. That said, we do focus on ensuring that it is a choice program. In other words, people can opt out at any time with no cancellation fee at any time. And it is typically easy to actually opt out. And one of the gentlemen who was speaking earlier who said he spent 30 minutes on the phone with Con Ed. So that was the problem because it's not a Con Ed program. If someone calls Sustainable Westchester, they will not be on the phone for 30 minutes in order to opt out. It can also be done very simply online. And perhaps that's where the better communication that we're committed to partnering with the town on will make the difference. The one other thing that I would say is anybody who has made the decision to opt out of the program already, or anybody who has selected a different electricity provider who's not Con Ed, anyone who's with a different ESCO, will not be included in the program. So anybody who's already made a different choice is not going to find themselves back in the program.
From the previous contract. I'm sorry, from the previous contract, the folks who have opted out on the previous contract can't opt in on this contract.
Anybody can opt in at any time or opt out at any time. But when the contract renews, if we assume that the town makes the decision to participate in the green supply, if somebody has previously opted out of the program, then they will not be automatically opted in. Or again, if someone has a different energy provider, they will not be opted in. But those folks are welcome at any time to join the program. And anybody is welcome at any time to cancel.
Okay, Laura Rossi.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Laura Rossi, and I'm the Executive Director of the Westchester Community Foundation, whose offices are in Hartsdale. We are located next to the Highview Elementary School, right behind Richard Presser Park. We're right in one of the old school buildings. I'm also the co-chair of Sustainable Westchester. So I'm wearing two hats in addressing you all this evening. As the director of the Community Foundation, we work for the betterment of the quality of life for all residents in Westchester County, and we do that because we hold endowment for the future that have been established by long-term residents, by which we make grants for the future of the community. And I reference that because we really stand on the shoulders of folks who cared about their community, many of whom are Greenberg or were Greenberg residents. And the theme here is that you as local decision makers really have the keys and the vision to create a better future, as Supervisor Feiner was referring to before. As I look out of our windows, we see the children from the elementary school playing, and that's our focus. What is their future going to be? Who will have the vision and the courage to overcome obstacles that seem quite daunting to address these quite serious challenges? Putting my co-chair of Sustainable Westchester hat on, I will say to you that I believe that what Sustainable Westchester is presenting to you is a very, very good program to help address climate change. It's fair, it's transparent, you're building in communications to address concerns, and you'll also be providing your residents with opportunities to participate in community solar and other programs that heretofore have not been available. We bring a very strong social justice lens to our work at the foundation, and Greenberg is critical to our work. So I would urge you to renew and avail yourselves and give your constituents the opportunity to avail themselves of participating in a clean, green future for our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Asha Abraham.
I'm really here echoing many of the comments this evening, and I do recognize that the price of renewable energy is currently higher than fossil fuel prices. However, the current pricing of fossil fuels in the market is not factoring in the cost of polluted lands, air, our water, or the cost of the destruction of natural environments. And considering what gave rise to COVID-19, we are already paying a very hefty price. We simply just cannot ignore these costs. Furthermore, reiterating that there is an opt-out feature to this program, and that anyone who feels that they are unable to participate in this program because of the cost, they can opt out and default back to brown energy. This is an opportunity unlike any other at a grassroots level to take action to protect our community and the future generations. I have two 6-year-olds, and I really just want them to have the promise of a better future. And we have to know that we will bear the consequences of our actions or inaction. So please, this evening, consider with care the cost of not putting our health and future first in the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick note, if you could use the chat function to alert me that you'd like to speak if I haven't called on you. But I would also ask that you please don't use the chat function to chat to everyone. We want to have the comments on the record, and anything you'd like to write, you could send in by email to publiccomment@greenbergny.com. So thank you. I will now call on Michael Fishgrund.
Hi, so I'm a senior in Ardsley High School, and I live in Hartsdale, and I'm one of the co-presidents of the environmental club for my school. So Greenberg residents participate in a lot of activities to help mitigate climate change. For the environmental club in my school, that's what we focus on all year. Every meeting and event for the environmental club has the ultimate goal of making our community greener. And last year I was able to go to a lot of planting events in our community throughout Greenberg. And everyone planting with me there takes the time out of their day and is dedicated to making the community more environmentally friendly. One time during planting, it was freezing outside, but we still planted for the whole morning and whole afternoon while we're very cold. So not entering this program just doesn't really align with our community's values. And going into this program represents and rewards all of the hard work that so many people from all over Greenburgh have put in to make the community greener. If we don't enter, everyone who has been doing all this work to improve the environment, all this work is just much more insignificant if we don't enter this program, because we're missing out on a big opportunity, and it can make a very big impact. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Jeff Sherwin.
Hi, my name is Jeff Sherwin. I've been a resident of Greenburgh for 12 years, and I recently moved. My first 11 years, I had, before the town had engaged in this program, had constantly renewed my ESCO to always be 100% green, even though it cost me a little bit more. I have in my new house been subject to this new program, but I also want to note that I have solar panels on my roof. I drive 100% electric vehicle, and every year my family and I give to the Carbon Fund to make sure that we are carbon negative. All that is to say that I'm not just talking the talk, I walk the walk. And I think that this program is absolutely wrong, because I found that when I had to get out of the contract in my new house, it not only took me more than 30 minutes of a phone call, and I engage in the town, and I'm aware of the fact that it was Sustainable Westchester, and was unaware that I needed to make that phone call, and I look at the mail. And then in addition, it took 2 months for this program to roll off of my system. I have found that by making my own choices on ESCOs, I've been able to find cheaper 100% green energy solutions based by looking at the duration of those contracts and when I choose to engage in those contracts. So I don't think that it's the town's business to make a determination about how I should go and spend my energy dollars. If the town wants to go and educate the public and make an opt-in option for the public and make sure that everybody's aware of those options, that's one thing. But by forcing everybody into the contract and not sufficiently educating people on how to get out of the contract in this way, you have basically overstepped your town responsibilities. Your responsibilities are to shepherd our tax dollars. It is not to engage in how we should invest our money any more than you should tell us how we should go and invest like our money doing anything else. If you want to go and become green, perhaps consider things that are within your confines, like perhaps eliminating coal and wood burning fireplaces in new homes, perhaps eliminating smokers in the backyard, perhaps doing the things that are within the code, but not forcing us, not telling us how we automatically have to spend our money on energy. Because the intent of people who don't want to be engaged in those contracts isn't always to go to brown energy. It's to actually go to better green energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Zinger.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Zinger, and I'm a resident of Hartsdale and president of the Hartsdale Neighborhood Association. So a lot of people have already spoken, and they've all raised great points about the importance of dealing with climate change, about the pitfalls of an automatic enrollment process, and about the potential significant increase in utility costs that this will result in for Greenburgh residents. And I think most people would expect my comments here to focus on cost and price and the numbers, but I actually want to focus on the process, because if we decide to go through with this, how we go forward is just as important. There's been a lot of talk, Paul. I've watched all of the many work sessions about this, including yesterday's, where you discussed how important it is to be transparent and all the things town will do to make sure that happens and citizens are notified once we are enrolled. You had an introduction tonight where you talked about all things we could do, such as notifications, robocalls, all the notification processes. Hopefully we will follow through on that aspect, but unfortunately, I can't say I'm very optimistic about that. And the reason for that is based on what the town has done so far in the run-up to this renewal and in the prior 2 years. And I'll note that there's a very stark difference this time around versus what happened in 2018 when the contract was up for renewal. In 2018, when the contract was up for renewal, Paul, you sent 2 separate emails, one on July 24th and one on September 6th. And in each of those emails, you broke down in detail with graphics and charts and all sorts of figures, the average savings that residents who were enrolled in the program had received. And it begs the question, if a detailed breakdown of the savings was provided as rationale for renewing the contract, why wasn't that same detailed breakdown provided regarding the significant cost increases, by my estimation over $1,000 per home, that resulted to customers as a result of the renewal? Your email about this public discussion deliberately omitted any note regarding the fact that the rates for this program are significantly higher than current Con Ed rates. You're telling us that we're going to be transparent. You're telling us about all the things you're going to do for notifications, but you didn't see fit to mention at any point the significant increase in costs enrollment in this program will bring to residents. That's an important fact when it comes to the transparency. We've also seen over the course of the work sessions and the conversations with the CGCA, and the town board has noted as well and agreed that the notifications to residents through the first 2 itinerations of the contract were not completed as promised. What assurances in writing do we have that this time will be any different? I'll also quickly note that I've watched all of the work sessions and all of the materials that have been made public about this, and I haven't seen any details of any kind regarding the support for low-income residents, no details about the numbers who will be eligible, no details about the level of support that will be provided, no details about the level of support that will be provided as rates change. I hope that information will be forthcoming. So I'm hoping that if we do go through with this, that it will be done the right way, and all of the disclosures and notifications that have been talked about will be put in place. But if past precedent is any indication, I'm concerned that once we move forward with this, the topic will be moved to the back burner after the contract is renewed, and residents who, when I talk to, are mostly completely unaware that this process is happening, will remain just as in the dark as they were before. Thank you.
I would just like to mention one thing. What's different with this agreement and the previous ones is the town will assume the total responsibility of providing information, sending out the postcards, doing the robocalls, doing the posting the comparisons on the website. So we will take responsibility of disclosure, making sure that people could opt out if they wish. As you know, with the previous agreements, initially there were savings for everybody. During the first contract, during the past 18 months, there hasn't been savings, and the town board decided that we're not renewing that contract. This is a totally different agreement because this is for green energy, not, the goal with this is to help the planet. We're going to be purchasing renewable energy. It's not about saving dollars, and if people can't afford it, we're going to let them know how to opt out, and we're going to make it easy. I just want to ask Nina if you could discuss the 2 programs that you didn't mention. One is the discounts for low-income residents, and the second is the grants that the town might be able to obtain from participating in this program.
Sure, I'm happy to speak to that. So with regard to community solar savings, Sustainable Westchester has currently enrolled about just over 1,000 Westchester residents in community solar. And that results in savings of approximately 10% on their total electricity bill. There are regulatory changes that are underway currently with the Public Service Commission that are changing the way that people can participate in community solar. So starting by probably the second quarter of next year, it's going to be possible to provide those community solar savings to people on an opt-out basis through the Westchester Power Program. Because community solar is such a benefit in terms of those guaranteed savings, and because there isn't an unlimited availability of those solar credits to provide to people, we have made the decision to focus those benefits on low-income residents in communities that are participating in the Westchester Power Program. So through the Westchester Power Program, a host of people will be receiving renewable electricity supply, and a segment of the population of each Westchester Power community that is low income or otherwise eligible through this program. We're determining whether it's going to be HEAP, people participating in the HEAP program, or exactly how that eligibility is going to be defined. But we will be providing those long-term savings on electricity bills. The reason that we're not able to say exactly how many people will be able to participate in a certain period of time is because we are building that new iteration of the program. So as I said, we've enrolled just over 1,000 people in community solar, most of those people over the last 12 months. But with this opt-out approach, we are confident we're going to be able to provide those benefits to many more people in a short period of time, because they won't have to individually go through the enrollment process. And so we've started engaging with housing authorities. We have a letter of support from the Greenberg Housing Authority for a grant submission to NYSERDA related to this. We're working with the PACE Energy and Climate Center. We intend to work with them on this. We've been having consultations with them. And what we have committed to the town is that the town will be able to provide this benefit at least proportional to the town's eligible residents across Westchester Power communities. So when we looked at residents with an income of less than $30,000 on a household basis, the unincorporated town of Greenberg represented just over 7% of residents across Westchester Power communities who are below that income threshold. So that is our commitment. In addition, I can say we're working on an interim basis before that project can be implemented. We have to wait for the regulatory changes that are still being finalized. But we are working with solar developers. There's one solar developer who is constructing solar projects in Mount Pleasant and Elmsford. And they have agreed that either the Greenberg Housing Authority or the town of Greenberg will be able to serve as an anchor subscriber in a portfolio of community solar projects that are currently in development. So that's a benefit that we're looking to bring on top of that proportional representation. In terms of the grant funds, it's a NYSERDA program that you're referring to, Supervisor Feiner. It's the Clean Energy Communities Program. And communities have to take designated high impact actions that they submit to NYSERDA and have certified as having been completed. And communities that complete a sufficient number of those actions are eligible for grant funding. The unincorporated town of Greenberg is classified as a large community within the context of that program, which means that the town could be eligible for $250,000 for achieving certain of these actions. And participating in the renewable supply is one of those. So we would connect your grants coordinator, Winsome Gordon, and any other municipal staff with the appropriate people at the Hudson Valley Regional Council who are supporting this effort on behalf of NYSERDA. I helped the village of Dobbs Ferry, where I'm a resident, receive the highest amount available to small communities, which was $100,000. I'm familiar with the program. I'm happy to help connect the town. What I would say about that is it's a competitive program. There's a certain amount of dollars that's available. And so the town, I know, has completed enough of the actions to be eligible, but the town should jump on that and start lining up the paperwork for that. And again, I'm happy to help with that in terms of making the right connections.
Thank you.
Nicola Coddington. Looks like you're on mute there.
All right, thank you. I remember back 15 years ago when the town became one of the first municipalities to put solar panels on its town hall, and the town of Greenberg has been an environmental leader, you know, for at least that long and probably longer. The town's leaders have long understood how important environmental factors are in considering the impact of their decisions on the present and future well-being of its residents, including our younger generation who will face most acutely the effects of climate disruption, which we are already experiencing. Well, as important as solar panels are, and I have them on my home too, the ability to transform the energy marketplace for the energy that everyone buys is even more far-reaching. I believe it's very important for the town to continue its leadership by participating in Westchester Power's community choice aggregation program and by choosing the 100% renewable power as the default. This leverages the town's ability to aggregate the community's purchasing power to help transform the energy marketplace towards a clean energy economy while still allowing the opt-out option to preserve individual choice and freedom. And a sidebar here on opting out, based on one of the comments that I heard earlier. You currently, individuals can currently switch to a number of green suppliers, green ESCOs individually, but most people don't, even if they say they want to. And I'm an example of that. I found the whole process of deciding on what a good green supplier was, versus a less good one, very difficult. And the people who are involved in behavioral economics tell us that the default option is a powerful tool when there is inertia or uncertainty in decision making, so that carefully chosen default options can help make better decisions for people and for society. For example, studies have shown that requiring people to opt out if they do not wish to donate their organs has been associated with higher donation rates. How am I doing on time? Anyway, the Institute for Local Self-Reliance states that community choice aggregation creates community pools of electricity large enough to command leverage on the market and with sufficient legal authority and financial flexibility to demand contracts from energy suppliers that satisfy local economic and environmental goals. It places authority in the hands of those who will feel the impact of their decisions, making investment in renewable electricity much more likely. And the title of that Institute for Local Self-Reliance's report that they issued this year is Community Choice Energy, an Alternative to Electricity Monopolies, Enables Communities to Center People and Planet. And I think you can see from the title that one of the points the Institute is making is that community choice aggregation actually provides more power in the sense of leverage, no pun intended, to a community to affect change on a large scale than the old standard way of having the utility, Con Ed in this case, be the default supplier. And I agree that good communication about the opt-out and education about that is important. but it'll be the town will be far more effective in creating change on this scale if they make the renewable energy the default option and having people in an educated way opt out. I must be done with my time by now.
Thank you. I believe there are two more that have not yet spoken that I believe want to speak, and I do see Leslie has her hand up. There may have been one chat question, which I'm not sure if that resident wants to pose that question, but Ken Stan, did you intend to speak, Ken?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you do.
Good evening. Ken Stan, resident 644 Ardsley Road, president of the Ardsley Road, Sprain Road Civic Association. To be clear, I am not against green energy, but I am against this program put forth by Sustainable Westchester and Westchester Power. The current program for the past 4 years has cost the households and businesses in this program money. In the first 2.5 years, there was a slim profit or swing for the consumer. In the last 18 months, now 19 months, the swing has been terrible for the consumer, losing all the money that they saved in the first 2.5 years. It's just incredible. The difference is like 30% between what we pay if you're in the program and what you pay if you were with Con Ed out of the program. I don't want to go into too many things because Eric and Jeff covered a lot of stuff very well, but you're signing up for a program that is not currently completed. According to them, Sustainable Westchester, NINA, the program is still in the development stages with clean energy communities of New York, CERTA. Everything that you talked about, the money, the grants, and the low income people getting money, that will all happen, but it is not definite. The carrot is 250,000. It could be 75,000. And what is low income? I've been having a hard time tracking that down, but I just think, you know, you need to check the history of the program and worry about moving forward. We had a lot of promises and a lot of commitments, and now we have a lot of promises and a lot of commitment from Paul and being transparent, but we all know that's not always forthcoming. These are numbers I gleaned from previous stuff that Eric said he couldn't get, but these are not something that can really be fact checked, but I'm sure that 12,600 people are in the program now. There's only 130 in the green program. That shows a very low interest of people wanting to be in the green program. Why? Because they don't know about it. And I just think that there are too many people not aware of what's going on. The new program, maybe 1,000 people, I heard that said again tonight, are in the program, but that's for all of Westchester, not just Greenburgh, all of Westchester. 12,600 people in Greenburgh, 3,300, 1,800 is a number I gleaned from them, is low income, and then there's another 1,500 called upper low income. I don't know what upper low income means, but together that's 3,300 people eligible. 7.1% of that is the number they threw out, is about 235 families that will be eligible to get the 10% year-end rebate. And that's a very small number of 12,600 that will be paying more than the going rate. The Con Ed has a program right now that you can enroll in for a low income program for people that are having a hard time with their bills. you can do that with Con Ed. Also, the fluctuation of bills, that's not a problem. Con Ed has a level billing plan where
And
all
Mr.
12
Stein,
months.
you're at your limit, and I know we have some other business, and I appreciate your comments, and I think one other speaker. Is that correct, Garrett?
Okay, so I think I tried to get to everyone in the chat to see if they wanted to speak. I believe everyone that has wanted to speak at least once has spoken. If that's not the case, I think now would be a good time to just unmute yourself and go ahead and speak. Otherwise,
Garrett,
yes.
Doreen Livson.
Okay, thank you, Doreen. Sorry. Please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Doreen Livson. I am president of the Worthington Woodland Civic Association, and I'm on the executive board of the Council of Greenberg Civic Associations. I am reading this statement prepared by the executive board. The executive board of the CGCA is making no recommendation, but rather providing the following information so residents can better understand what is being considered and are in a better position to ask questions. At Mr. Finer's request, the CGCA reached out to the community for advice on what action the town should take. One resident recommended a green option. Every single other resident received to date recommended that any new contract should be on an opt-in basis. More information was also required regarding the future savings for lower income families. According to the CGCA's understanding, any new contract the town participates in would be for the green option and will be offered on an opt-out basis. Savings of 10% on their electric bill would be promised to X number of lower income residents, so the town could be eligible up to $250,000 in grant money for sustainable projects. Westchester Power plans to go out to bid this month for a new contract with a starting bid lower than 7.65 cents per kilowatt. Francis, could you please put up the table that Ella put out? I would appreciate it. That you were playing with at the beginning, or Garrett?
It's gonna knock your face off the screen.
It's gonna knock my what?
Face off the screen.
My face is never on the screen. That's a
All right, Ms.
reason for
Lipson,
it.
I don't want you to run out of time, so please keep going.
So bring it down to the bottom, and you can see that the latest, all the way down at the bottom.
Just a minute, I have to move it over because it's being blocked on the cable TV from pictures. Just a minute. We won't take this out of your time.
Well, the latest numbers come in at 5.5 cents, where sustainable is at 7.7. It's a big difference if you look at the chart. And if you would go month by month, you will see. And I want to state that the opt-out is not easy. I have gotten emails from many people. It is taking them, but contacting Westchester Power or Sustainable, it's taking them 2 to 3 months to get out of this. It's not as easy as you think. And I agree 100% with what Ken said, what Eric said, and Jeff said. I'm going to be sending you 20 statements by people who sent me they do not want to be in this program. They feel that it only should be an opt-in. And I'm going to have all of this posted on Nextdoor under the general, and we will also post this on the CGCA website, which anyone can get to by going to cgca.info. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else?
Maybe if I could just, this is Dan Welsh, and I'm the director of the program. So I say, I hope there's nobody that had to spend 3 months trying to get out. We have, people ready at the phone. We have a website where there's a short little form you fill out. So making that easy is really important to us. I mean, if people, if their first phone call goes to Con Ed or something, then you might be getting some call center person that's then, then you're starting down some journey that we can't control. But if it comes to us, you're coming right out of the program, and we're committed to making that easy. And while I'm speaking, I would just say that the decision that Greenberg makes today, and indeed the work that all the participating communities have done, has not only had a huge impact on our own footprint here, but there are now dozens of communities across New York State that are following this model and establishing programs, because communities don't want to wait. They want to take charge of their energy futures. They're determined to make some change. We can't be passive about it. So, and I understand the concerns about the opt-out format. You know, it's not a surprise we have those discussions, but we also like to point out that Con Ed is an opt-out option too, right? You move into an apartment, you pick up the phone and you call and you say, hook up my power, and you get whatever you get, unless you choose to do something else. We're just changing the starting point, and people still have the choice to select any supplier they would like. Thanks.
Okay. Garrett, could you also give us a summary of the written comments we've gotten?
Yes, over the past week or so, I've received to the public comment at greenbergny.com about 25 or so, 20 to 25 emails. I believe all but one were positive for both the program and the green opt-in. I haven't really had a chance to read them closely, but I did compile them all into one document, which I sent off to the town board. They were from residents both in unincorporated Greenberg, the villages, and then some local environmental groups. I believe there was one email based on cost that was negative. So about 25 responses that I received.
I did read them, and I believe there are two. One is very short that says basically, fool me once, fool me twice. They're not in support of it, obviously. We've had letters of support. You're right. There's between 24 or 25, depending on if it counts, a follow-up comment or not, but it's from the same person. We've had comments from other municipalities that are that's voted to stay into the program. We've had comments from the Nature Center in support of us doing the sustainable option. We've had people that I couldn't tell whether or not they were actually in town of Greenberg or not, but they were very supportive of it. They didn't identify what their address was. There's a comment from the Hartsdale Neighbors Association, which provides comment, and it says basically that there's a tremendous need to educate the public, and I certainly agree with that. And we didn't do a good job on that last round. And I think the conditions that we've already discussed, I think they need to be enhanced. I think they have to be enhanced significantly prior to the effective date of the contract starting, so that people don't find out 3 months later that they've been put into an option and then have to opt out. I remember when we first went into this, people had an opportunity in advance of the implementation date to opt out. So they were never actually put into it. And I would like to add that to the list of conditions that would also apply here. Why should they ever get into a program if they don't want to get into it? And so all the things of robocalls and postcards and posting on the website, it's nice that you have an annual report, but you want to really make a concerted effort at the very beginning of this program so people make an informed decision. And maybe even we have a link from our website to the sustainable website to the page that if somebody wants to opt out. Most of the time I hear the comments of, it's not easy to opt out. Maybe because I'm computer savvy, that doesn't seem real to me because I know how to go to a website and I know how to go to the page. But there are people who don't have computers, right? And there are some people that, believe it or not, they may still have flip phones or no cell phones. And so we have to be mindful of that. And maybe the postcard is the only way to reach them, or maybe the robocall might reach them. I do agree, though, unlike in the past, I think the town has to be the one that controls the wording on the postcard. And because when we asked for wording in the past, basically the price difference was kind of buried in an awful lot of other material. And I think we just want to put it out there for the public what the difference is. And either they can either choose to go green or they can choose not to. But we did have quite a few, and they weren't letters very cryptic like the one I mentioned, where fool me once. They were very thoughtful. Some of them were very lengthy. Some people showed up here and discussed what they put into their comments. So we can make the letters available to anybody who would like to see them. And they are what they are. And so I think this has been an informative discussion. But I think me, I would like to see the wording of these conditions as opposed to we'll agree to this and we'll agree to that. I would actually like to see what is it that we're actually getting as far as this transparency of what's happening and how do we get that out there, what you're agreeing to, what would be the responsibility of the town. I would like to actually see that formalized in writing.
Francis, the suggestion I have is, I think you make good points. We do have to have a tightly worded agreement. And one of the thoughts that I had would be, I think the board heard from the community. If in concept, we can make a decision, right now and say, what, if we get the wording correctly, we will support, the agreement. Then you, the town attorney, Nina, Dan Welsh could, Garrett could work out the contractual agreements. But meanwhile, everybody will sort of know that, the decision is, conditional approval, that we basically are going to, go along with this if all the conditions that, we all talked to are met. And I do think we should also have a certain commitment in terms of the low income, the help to low income residents, the numbers or the percentages. So we're guaranteed that Greenberg will get a fair share, and we'll also help with, getting grants from Albany for the sustainable initiative. So I'm sort of wondering, since both of us spoke, if the other board members could also indicate whether or not they support, this approach in concept without formally approving anything.
Can I just say something about that? I would like to have more information about this low income program, because if they're limiting it to households that make $30,000 or less, they're probably not using $300 or $400 of electricity a month. And of that 10%, with that, how much are we really talking about? And what is the real benefit? And could that then apply to more people? Because it seems like a very small number that would be actually given back as a 10% number. But I would like to actually see how those numbers are work out. And I understand that that's also, unless you misspoke, Nina, that's an opt-out program. So you would automatically put people, if you knew that they were, somehow you'll know that they're low income, and then they would automatically be in, so they don't have to do anything to be in that program. And so,
excuse me.
Right, but so I would like to actually see how that works out in writing.
Just so the board knows, I'm just getting chats. There's, I believe, 1 or 2 more residents that asked to make brief statements. So I don't know what the board wants to do, whether it's take them by email at a later date or allow the comments to be made now. But I just wanted to make you aware.
If they're here, Garrett, I think you
want to
should
hear
be
them.
able to speak.
I want to be able to hear them.
Okay, I think Leslie Davis, did you still have a question that you'd like to ask?
I think we had more to do with you guys are going to make the decision not tonight. Is that correct?
I'm asking that we make a conceptual decision, pending a written agreement, a written agreement, with a tightly worded, conditions. Because I feel that unless we know we have 3 board members who want to, go forward with this, then, there's no need to spend time on all the legalese. But if the board basically says, in concept, we're supporting this, now we would like to work out all the language, then, then everybody could start working on it in the next week. Sustainable Westchester also needs an answer because they're planning for the coming year. So
yeah, can I just in terms of the nuts and bolts there, the bid date is the 30th, is next Wednesday, and so in order to be sort of included as part of that load for the bid, we would need to have the MOU signed by then. So if I'm hearing this correctly, we want to make sure we're capturing those additional communications, et cetera, conditions in a document so that we have a commitment there. And then with that between us, then assuming everybody's, you still have to vote on it or whatever, but you'd be in a position to then sign off on the MOU, knowing that we have that commitment. Is that kind of the mechanics that we're looking at?
That's what my recommendation is.
So it would be, in other words, the authority to sign the MOU would be contingent on getting that agreement in place.
That is the condition. But you've already agreed to the conditions, and the conditions that I'm basically asking that I'm suggesting would basically put a lot of the burden on the town. So we would have the responsibility of sending out the postcard and writing it, but Sustainable would agree to pay for 1 postcard a year. We would commit that we would do at least 1 robocall. We would commit to work with you. You would give us the numbers, and we would then post it on the website every month. And say Con Ed rates are this amount per kilowatt hour. This is what you are. If you want to opt out, this is how you go about it. This is the link. So there's really,
we are thrilled to support that.
Let me just say that the reason why, and I don't think I've been less than transparent that I have supported a green initiative. I think our mistake in the past was we didn't go green. So we had nothing to say was a benefit when the Con Ed rates went low. We couldn't say we were green like the other municipalities most of the other municipalities that were in there. The reason why I'm a little cautious here is that when we first did the negotiations on the original contract, we put in provisions about postcard. And then after we were through that process, we were told, oh, we can't really put that into the contract because then we would have to offer it to everybody else, right? All the other municipalities. I just want to make sure up front that that doesn't happen here, that if we say this is what's going to happen, then it's going to happen. And I don't want it to be on the town's dime, because now we have to live up to what we said would happen. I want to make it clear exactly what is going to happen and who's picking up the cost. And I would like to know that up front before I am saying rah, rah, rah. I'm supportive, but I'm cautious in making sure that the notification for opting out and the ease of opting out is built into this as solidly as we can possibly put it, because that's what I've been hearing mostly from people, aside from, and there's a difference in cost, between Con Ed, there's no doubt about it. But even going green, the ability to opt out and there being no cost to opt out, like other ESCOs, like some other ESCOs, that's a big deal, that you can opt out at no cost, no penalty at any time throughout the duration. It's not just for the first 3 months you can opt out at any point. I think I'm making myself clear.
Yeah, we're happy to
I don't want to relive what happened initially.
Right, I have a similar concern, Dan, that all these things were supposed to have been in the last contract, and you've heard tonight that there are a number of people that have had issues, and I believe a green option is a good option too. But if we can't find a good way to help residents who wish to opt out and an easy way for them to do it, I have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. I know I wasn't here for the first contract when it went into place. But I had a concern when we were talking about the communication as far as it relates to the postcards. So as everyone knows, I've been very clear, I'm big on communication, and I want to make sure that everyone is comfortable and clear on what they're getting into. So, and I also was clear that I didn't want to make a decision unless I heard from the residents. So I hear sort of 50-50 on it. I am totally in agreement on that we must go green. Our children are our future, so we need to make sure that we continue and we do our part to ensure that they do have a healthy future. As you know, since we are in the middle of a pandemic, we have known what has cost us. But unless we see something physically in writing, black and white, I can't go forward, because I want to make sure that everything that is verbally said here is written and that everybody's on the same page, because I just think that's fair across the board.
When do you think we can do? When do you think we can have that?
Well, we'll have that written up for you tonight. Your hands in the morning.
And the town board, Jeff Sherwin I believe was the last one requesting to speak. And then after that, I will ask Fred if he had a question that he chatted to me. So Jeff?
Yeah, so just really quickly, and I didn't take all of my time up before, and I just want to make sure that the town board is aware of one thing. Mm-hmm. All of us who buy energy from Con Ed have a relationship not with Sustainable Westchester. We have a relationship with Con Ed. If you look at your Con Ed bills, it tells you who your ESCO is, and then it tells you where to call. And it doesn't say call Sustainable Westchester. So you need to think about this, and all of the postcards that you may send out, all the robocalls that people are going to ignore, particularly as we go into election season, about who your relationship is as a consumer and how it is that most people are going to go about doing this before you think about whether or not Sustainable Westchester can magically make all this go away. Francis, I'm at least as good with computers as you are. I have a lot of experience doing this, and I've been buying ESCO contracts for a long time. It is non-trivial to do this, and you have a lot of education to do before you force people into a contract as a third party. And my point is that this is akin to what happened in the 80s and 90s when long-distance phone companies We're slamming residents and switching their plans without them knowing about it. And now it's government supported. You are supporting the automatic changeover of a consumer service, like switching everybody who's on FiOS to Cablevision because you like those policies better. And that, I believe, is way outside of what you guys should be even considering doing. You have bigger fish to fry, and this is not one of them.
Can I just clarify on the bill? It's true that the ESCO phone number appears with their name, but underneath there's a message section. In that section, we have taken over, and it says, "Thank you for being a participant in the Westchester Power Program. If you have any questions about the program or anything, call this number." So it is there, you know, but the ESCO number is also there. So it is possible that the ESCO will get a call.
But you are not Con Ed, and us as a consumer, our relationship is not with you. You are effectively just like a buying agent on behalf of a whole bunch of residents who did not ask for you to do so.
And I would just say that it is our goal actually to have a relationship with you and with everybody on the screen. And I don't see, Con Ed is not here tonight, but we're going out into the neighborhoods, and we are, again, as Nina described so well, using this program as a bridge to start a conversation. And I just want to say that in actual fact, this is actually an easy first step. We've got a lot of work to do beyond this. That's going to take even a higher level of engagement and more collaboration between us as individuals and municipalities. So this is, the first step, and we do want to have a relationship with everybody because we have to work together on this.
As a first step, I would just simply say to you that a first step should be education, not a forced unilateral contract. That's what I would say.
And do you control the wording that appears under that? You said you took over the box underneath.
Yeah, that's the ESCO message section. They have like 400 characters. So the ESCOs are required to, we ask them to like give that to us to use. So we can.
Could you make it clear, if it's not clear already, that if you have any issues with your ESCO, to call your number, even though they're going to have that other number there, but to basically try to divert them to calling you instead of the ESCO.
Yeah, that was the intent, but we can look at that wording and make sure that that they know that we should be their first stop. And that is our goal. In fact, in all these contracts, that's again another thing that makes us different from, the past 20 years of ESCOs, is we are driving all of that customer service calls to our office. And each one of those calls we consider to be a community building asset, even if it's somebody who's not green or fully engaged. It's the first conversation maybe that they're having and being a part of this. So it is our goal to bring those to us, and we'll look at that wording and make sure that it's accomplishing that.
Still a forced contract. Even if you ask for forgiveness afterwards, it's still a forced contract.
Yeah, if we want to use the chat, if you want to speak. Fred Moss, did you still have your question? Otherwise, I don't believe anyone else seeks to speak on this matter.
Yeah, Francis, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my question is, I really don't understand the fear of opt-out, because as I see it, that's not what's changing. Right now, without anyone asking us consumers, we were assigned to a fossil fuel generated electricity company. That was a forced contract. No one asked me if I wanted Con Ed, and Con Ed wasn't even the cheapest option out there. And when I finally realized that I had a chance to change, I got on the phone and I went through the hassle of changing to a green ESCO. And yeah, it was a hassle. But I did it because I felt strongly about it. So what I understand this new program to be is that it's simply changing the default from a fossil fuel company to one that's renewable. And if I'm wrong about that, I'd appreciate if someone could clarify that for me.
You are wrong about it because I was in a green program and was
This
forced
can't be
into
a
a different
debate
one.
back and forth.
So Paul, how would you like to proceed? How's the board?
So let me ask, if we could just hear from, I guess, I'd just like to see a concept. If we could get the wording right, is the board ready to, would the board be receptive conditionally if the wording is right? And are we authorizing the town attorney to work out, to present us with a draft agreement?
I would like to see the
Just going
wording.
to get us the wording. We'll take a look.
I would like to see the wording.
Okay, but are you in concept, if the wording is correct, are you in concept in favor of this?
When I see the wording, I'll move forward. I need to see the wording first. I'm not going to commit until I see the wording.
I agree in concept.
Right, I agree with Gina too. Let's just get it, and Tim can get it to us.
And if there's wording that has been worked out, they could get it to us tonight. Don't worry about it. Sleep on it a little bit. If we can work something out tomorrow or Friday morning.
Yes.
What was your deadline?
So you'll have it tonight.
Okay. What was your deadline?
What's the deadline? September.
Well, it's, again, the bid is on the 30th. We need to inform, because the bidders have not seen the Greenberg MOU yet. They've seen everybody else yet. So, they need evidence that you will be a part of the bid so that they can.
Let me ask a question.
While he's lit up on the screen. Will we run into a situation where when we work out this wording, and that's my hesitation, as we work out this wording, you'll or somebody else will come back and say we can't do that because we didn't offer it to the other 25 municipalities who already signed on.
No, I think I like to just say that if there was some confusion around the postcard earlier, I don't think it was around at the contract, or at least if it was in the launch of the program. I wasn't there either, and I'm not sure what was talked about at postcard. We had dialogue around a postcard, and we committed to sending something out, and then we went back and forth on the format of that, and then already we're at bid time. So I apologize if that was not a smooth conversation, or we didn't pull that off in time, but it was absolutely not a matter of us not having the desire or commitment to support Greenberg in whatever way works for Greenberg. So certainly, as it's been laid out here tonight, in terms of allowing Greenberg to determine the wording of that card and the timing, and that'll be paid for by us. You have our commitment. That's easy, and we'll get that down on paper and the other criteria, and we'll have that for you.
Can I make a suggestion? Since you have a timetable, what if the town board had a special meeting tomorrow evening? And this way you could be at the meeting, Nina could be at the meeting. If all the town, I have, there's the Chelsea, the assisted living, they're having, I think they're opening tomorrow. So I have to, go to that, but I could be back. We could have a meeting 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and then work it out, and then you'll have your answer tomorrow, in time, provided the other board members can make tomorrow.
Tomorrow's a terrible day. I'm from the early morning until late at night.
What about
Friday?
Dan?
I could be available.
Sure. Well, whatever. Yeah, that would work.
We can figure out a time offline. I don't want to keep this going. I mean, we still have a lot of time.
We still have public hearings.
Yeah, so
I
let's,
know that, and
We want to say, we want to say Friday at, I have my radio program till 11. You want to make it Friday at 11?
I would need to
No,
take.
I can't make that, Paul.
What?
So can we just take, can we
I'm
figure?
very tied up on Friday. I have a really big schedule on Friday.
Why don't we work it out?
Yeah, can we work?
I think we need to do it offline.
Yes, 3
Okay.
times.
No, I just want to mention Sunday night and Monday is Yom Kippur, so I can't do anything.
Okay, we understand. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll produce that and hopefully we can work out the mechanics.
Okay.
good.
Okay, we still have an agenda to do, don't we?
Yes.
All right. Really appreciate everybody. There's a lot of hard work. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy, and we're proving that.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you for everyone who spoke.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night now.
Okay, let's see where we are on the agenda. Okay,